Okay, welcome back. Welcome in, one and all. I'm now going to continue my 32 and 32 at the NHL with the Edmonton Oilers. And as always, I like to display their home jersey and the reverse retro. And I got to say, I'm a big fan of this reverse retro. Obviously, this is going back to like the mid 2000s look. In the original one, actually, you know what? There's no point in even describing it. I'm just going to pull up their '06, '07 like alternates, their second home. So that's what the jersey used to look like. They had the blue oil drop in the middle, and obviously now that they've switched to the reverse retro, that they have a orange drop in the middle. So I got to say I'm a big fan of this. I just think it's a very interesting look and very neat, if I may say so myself. So I'm just going to go over a few of the signings that they have acquired, and then I'll go over this past season. So they brought it back in Drake Kajula. He used to be a member of the Oilers back in in like this 2016, 17, 18 kind of, well, 5 years ago, I should say. And he's been traded around ever since. They brought Lane Pedersen. I do believe he played with the Columbus Blue Jackets just last season. And then the big signing, uh, they've signed Connor Brown to a 1 year contract, and many people have uh, brought this up to everyone's attention that he used to play with McDavid back in juniors with the Erie Otters, I do believe. So obviously, getting some type of reunion will be nice to say the least, and we'll see how they perform at the NHL level on the same stage on the same team. And then yeah, that's pretty much the big three signings that they've had. Again, nothing too huge. The problem with them is they're up against the cap with when you have a contract with McDavid and Draisaitl. They take up, I'm sure, quite a bit of your cap space, so they can't really afford to bring in any big names at this very moment. So last season they finished with a record of 50 wins, 23 losses, and 9 overtime/shootout losses for a grand total of 109 points. They finished second in their division. The last time they missed the playoffs was in 2018-19. They've made it ever since. In 2020, when they had the playoffs and they had the bubble playoffs or the COVID playoffs, whatever you want to call it. They played Chicago in the first in the play-in round. Unfortunately, they fell short in 4 games, 3 games to 1. That was a best-of-5 series. The very next season, they had the realignment of the division, so they had the Canadian division, and they finished second in that division, but ultimately they lost in 4 straight games against the Winnipeg Jets. In 2022, they had a breakout playoff year. They defeated the Kings in the first round. They took out their Alberta rivals in Calgary Flames in 5 games, but then they lost in a sweep to the Colorado Avalanche. And then this past postseason, they played the Kings for the second straight season. They finished them in 6 games, but they could not get past the Golden Knights, and they lost to the Golden Knights in 6 games as well. So I'll take a look at the roster, see who they still have, see who is yet to be signed, or who has signed elsewhere. So let's take a look at their goaltending situation. So obviously, let's go adjust this here. Just bear with me. So their main guy in goal is Stuart Skinner. He's going to be entering his second full season with the Edmonton Oilers. A big rookie year last year. He was actually runner-up for the Calder Trophy, and I can't remember the last time a goaltender was in that category. So he obviously had some decent numbers last season with the Oilers. Jack Campbell is going to be in his second year with the Oilers, and the big question mark with him is can he perform better or live up to his contract expectations? He's making $5 million right now, so over the next 4 seasons, that he's due $20 million roughly. 4, 5, 10, 15, yeah, about five. Hold on a second. 5, 10, 15, yeah, $20 million over 4 seasons. So he better live up to the expectations if you're an Oilers fan, because if he plays as poorly as he did this past season, they could easily be trying to ship him out. But again, if your numbers aren't up to par, what team is really going to want to take that contract on when you're not living up to that expectation? And then they obviously have Mike Smith on here, but he's on the LTIR, so yeah, no longer a member of said Oilers. And getting back to Stuart Skinner, so he has signed an extension for 3 seasons at 2.6 mil. So together, you have 2 goaltenders combined making $7 million on your roster, which is very good, in my opinion, for a goaltending tandem. So I'll take a look at the players, and we'll see, like I said, who's still there, who has left, or who has still yet to sign. As Nick Bustad has gone back to the Arizona Coyotes. I think he signed a 2-year contract with them. Evan Bouchard, this went on for a lot longer than I anticipated, but he is signed for 2 more seasons, so he'll be there. Philip Broberg has 1 more left to go on his contract. Cody Ceci has 2 more years left to go on his deal. Vincent Desharnais on his rookie contract has 1 more year left to go on his contract, so I'm sure he'll be looking for some type of negotiation or whatever the case may be is before the end of the season. Leon Draisaitl has 2 more years left to go on his contract at 8.5. Now, this is by far one of the better acquisitions that they got last season was Matthias Ekholm in the trade for Tyson Barrie. Has 3 more years left to go on his contract, so the fact that him and Bouchard are guaranteed to be paired up for the next 2 seasons at minimum, I can only imagine how great of a season those two should have working together. Warren Foegele is on the last year of his contract. Zach Hyman has 5 more years left to go on his deal. Matthias Janmark's contract did expire, but he has re-signed for 1 more season, so he will be back with the Oilers this upcoming year. Evander Kane has 3 more years left to go on his deal. Oscar Klefbom, just like Mike Smith I mentioned, they're only on the roster because they're still getting paid by the team, but they're not necessarily playing. The last time he played was in the 2020 campaign, so it's been 3 years since Klefbom has been on the ice, and I'm pretty sure if he hasn't retired, he will be retiring just due to constant injuries, per se. Klim Kostin was traded in the offseason to the Detroit Red Wings. Brett Kulak has 3 more years left to go on his contract. McDavid has 3 more years left to go on his deal as well. Ryan McLeod has re-signed. He's back for 2 more seasons, I do believe, with the Oilers. Ryan Murray didn't have much of a factor, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. He's been kind of bouncing around from team to team, year in and year out, so he has left. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins has 6 more years left to go on his contract. Darnell Nurse has 7 more years left to go on his deal. Derek Ryan, I'm pretty sure, has re-signed for 1 more season. Devin Shore, I believe, has left. Kyler Yamamoto was traded with Klim Kostin to the Detroit Red Wings, but then they bought out the contract, and now he, I believe, has signed with the Seattle Kraken. So he is no longer a member of the Edmonton Oilers, but he's still sticking around in that Pacific Division. So I'll get back to the Play Now screen, just pull up their logos, and discuss what should be the expectations for this team in the 2023-2024 campaign. So I'll just make sure I adjust it so it's somewhat censored. Okay, so going into this upcoming season, the expectations for the Oilers, and I'm sure many people have heard this before, but it's pretty much, it has to be cup or bust. When you have the talent that they do with McDavid and Draisaitl on your team, you can't let that go to waste. And especially with Draisaitl, his contract, like I said, is going to expire in 2 seasons. McDavid's contract is going to expire in about 3 or 4 seasons. So you really have a small window, considering these guys are like in the prime of their careers. Now, I'm sure that they're not going to drop off anytime soon, but when they're as talented as they are, and they're giving you over 100 points each season for the last 4 or 5 years, it just goes to show that they can put the puck in the net or help put the puck in the net. But if you can't find a team to build around them to succeed, then they're just going to be one and done, more or less, when it gets into the playoffs. So I want to say that they should get into a semifinal. They should get into an Elite 8 when it comes to the postseason, because I don't think they're just going to be a one and done when you. Sorry, I'm getting all tongue tied. They should make the postseason. I believe between them, the Kings, and the Golden Knights, that's pretty much your 3 teams to get into the postseason when it comes to the Pacific Division. So I don't see the Edmonton Oilers dropping into a wild card spot. I believe they should finish, like I said, in the top 3 of that division. Getting out of the first round shouldn't be a huge deal. It's getting past the second round, getting back into a conference final. Again, like I said, it's pretty much got to be cup or bust, get into the conference final or bust. because if you just get out of the first round or you don't get out of the first round, that's going to be a step backwards for this franchise. And like I said, when you have the likes of McDavid and Draisaitl on said teams, you don't want to be wasting the best years of their life or their careers and not have any success in the playoffs. After all, that's the main reason why you play the game of hockey, is to try to get to a Stanley Cup final and potential win. So, yeah, I think that's all I got to say for the Edmonton Oilers for this particular video. If you happen to tune in for this whole thing, thank you all for tuning in as well. And until next time, take care.